Hola.
Hola.
You know, I love Mexico. And part of the reason is that all the girls are really beautiful. And all the guys are pretty lame. So there's no competition. No. That was me. Let me talk about, here we go, a little history. And someday, computers will work. What we really want to do, nobody knows who these guys are. These are the guys whose shoulders I stood on. These are the guys that hooked a big computer up to a video screen. It's called Evans and Sutherland, and they were the pioneers. This was 1965. And what you're seeing there is less graphics processing than you have in your iPhone. RTL logic. So we've come a long way. I worked at an amusement park. These guys were my professors at the university, getting a degree. And so I knew something about computer graphics, you know, really early on. And then I worked at an amusement park. And so I knew the economics of fun. And I thought to myself, if I can put the technology that I have there and make it cheap so I could put it at the amusement park, I bet I could make a lot of money. Well, the computer at those times, that computer you saw, and that was the screen that I played Space War on. It was a game that was called, that was done by a guy named Steve Russell at MIT, 1962. Wow, you know, when I say those ages, you know, I don't feel that old, but I am. Anyway, this was a $3 million computer. This was a 200,000. It had 100 kilohertz. Man, that's blistering fast. Or not. This is actually the first video game. It's a guy named Willie Higginbotham who did a game using an oscilloscope in 1958. And it bounced across and they did some fun things. Then there was Computer Quiz. These were little coin-op games. That came along in the late 60s. And then, this was my game. This was the very first consumer video game. You thought it was Pong. It wasn't. This was my attempt to do Space Wars. The model was actually a stripper in a bar down the street. But that's a whole nother story. So, basically, started Atari. This was one of the first Atari things. Now, Al Alcorn, he was the guy that actually programmed Pong. That was me. There were two innovations there. One was the Pong game. The other was the polka dot shirt. The polka dot shirt did not catch on. But this was a guy who was our first financial guy who got caught stealing. But that's another thing. But anyway, that was our first brochure. And then Atari did more and more different and fun games. Have you ever played Simon? This is actually the coin-op version that was copied to do Simon. So, you know, when people copy your stuff, don't get mad at them. I did, but, you know, it's just what happens. I mean, if you're going to... Is Halo a copy of Doom? Kinda. But, you know, Doom, you know, Halo is a great game. Then 1977, the Atari VCS, we all remember that to a certain extent. But what you realize is that the first microprocessor wasn't invented until 1974, and it was only a 4-bit. Good for a little calculator. 1976 was the big day, and that was the 6502. And you recognize these guys? It's Jobs and Wozniak. They both worked for me. Well, actually, not both of them. Steve Jobs worked for Atari, and I put him on the night shift because he was good friends with Wozniak, who was actually a better engineer. And did you ever wonder why the Apple II was based on the 6502? It's because the Atari VCS was based on the 6502, and they could steal the parts. Actually, I gave them a bunch of them and let them buy 6502s. But also, the 6502 turned out to be the first really big mass-produced chip, or microprocessor. And because of that, the typical microprocessor in those days, they were like $80 to $100. We were buying the 6502 for $8. And so it was the cheapest microprocessor and the most powerful. And this is the game that Woz and Jobs did, Breakout. And as a result, it was the only game, and Jobs came to me and said, is it okay if we put Breakout on the Apple II? And I said, sure, no problem. You guys did it. And so the only game that was shipped with the Apple was Breakout, the first game. These guys really made a difference. And we were good friends for a long time. I've written a book about finding the next Steve Jobs, and I talk about the time in Paris. This is a Dumego. This is a famous West Bank Paris cafe, Hemingway and all those guys. And Steve Jobs and I drank coffee, he drank tea, and discussed the future of the computer world. This is after Apple was started, and creativity. And what a lot of people don't know about Steve is that he was maybe the most passionate, capable person you could ever find. In fact, and we decided these are the most important characteristics of success: enthusiasm, creativity, and optimism. So if you don't have it, get it. Love life. Love life. I love life. What you really want to be able to do is figure out a passion and do it. Now, how do you get good ideas? Get a lot of ideas. How do you get a lot of ideas? Do a lot of things. Walk to work or school a different way. Look for beauty in weird places. Pack as much life into every hour, every minute as you can.